reflecting the sterile light of the research bay. She didn't blink. He wasn't sure she even had eyelids, but her gaze followed him with such precision that he felt naked beneath it. She was tall, elegant in a way that made his human senses real. Plates of glimmering carapace ran down her neck like armor crafted by gods. She didn't speak, not in any way they could translate, but her eyes conveyed intelligence. Old intelligence. The scientist called her Specimen A9. Mason called her the Queen. She had arrived 3 months ago, unearthed from beneath the ice crust of Europa. The rest of her hive had been frozen, long dead, or so the research team assumed. She alone still breathed, though breathe wasn't quite the right word for what she did. And Mason, as head of security, was assigned to watch her. He wasn't supposed to interact, but isolation did strange things to people. After 3 weeks of 12-hour shifts in the observation bay, he found himself talking to her. At first, it was meaningless chatter, something to fill the silence. "Long day again," he'd say, setting his tray on the guard's console. You'd think with all that tech, they'd make food that tastes like something other than cardboard. The Queen would tilt her head, her silver-black eyes narrowing, as though she were parsing meaning from tone alone. One day, on a whim, he held up his ration bar. "You hungry?" Ridiculous, of course. She had her own feeding system. Nutrient gels tailored by the xenobiologist to match whatever her physiology required. But something in the way she watched him made him unwrap the bar anyway. He tore it in half and, feeling like an idiot, set one piece on the observation glass shelf between them. "For you," he said, and took a bite of his half. Her gaze flicked to the food, then to him. Slowly, she extended one long, jointed hand, pressing it against the barrier. It was impossible for her to touch the ration. The containment field shimmered faintly between them, but she mimicked his gesture, pressing her palm to his through the invisible wall. The lights flickered once, as though something in the field hesitated, then stabilized. From that moment on, she watched him differently. The next day, she refused her nutrient gel. The scientist panicked. "Metabolic destabilization," Dr. Lin muttered. "We need her to eat." They changed the formula, tested temperatures, recalibrated the injectors. Nothing worked. She simply folded her limbs beneath her and waited. When Mason came on duty, she turned her head toward him, unblinking. He laughed nervously. "What, you skipping meals now too?" No response, of course. He sat down, pulled out his tray, and sighed. "Fine, suit yourself." He took out another ration bar, same flavor, NutriPaste Eero4 savory protein, and held it up. The Queen shifted slightly, her antennae quivering. He broke the bar in half and set it on the same spot as before. "You know, this is getting weird," he muttered, but he didn't stop. "You want me to eat first?" He took a bite. She made a low, resonant sound, something between a purr and a growl, and reached her hand toward the same invisible point where his food lay, and just like that, her feeding tubes activated. The nutrient gel surged through the pipes, and she began to eat again. Dr. Lin nearly fell out of her chair watching the monitors. "She's responding to him," she said. "Directly." That was how it began. Within a week, Mason's lunches became part of the Queen's schedule. When he arrived, she would wait, still as glass, until he unwrapped his food. Then she would mimic his movements, biting when he bit, pausing when he paused. It became a ritual, an odd communion across the divide. The scientists called it behavioral conditioning. Mason called it lunchtime, but as the days passed, he noticed subtle changes. When he approached, her posture softened. Her wings, delicate, shimmering things she usually kept folded tight, unfurled slightly. Sometimes, when he was late, she would pace the edges of the dome, making that low thrumming sound that vibrated through the floor. Dr. Lin found it fascinating. "You formed a social bond," she said. "She's imprinting on you." "Imprinting?" Mason asked. "Like a hatchling on its parent, or perhaps a queen on her chosen consort." He had laughed then, uneasy. "You make it sound romantic." Dr. Lin didn't laugh. "For her species, it might be." The dream started a few nights later. He would see her, not behind glass, but in a vast cavern of crystal and ice. Her voice, a sound like vibrating air, would fill his mind. Words that weren't words. Images, him offering her food, her accepting, their hands meeting through the barrier. When he woke, he could still feel the hum of her presence beneath his skin. He tried to shake it off, but when he returned to his post, her eyes met his and he knew she knew. The link was real. The research team grew nervous. "She's developing dependency," said Dr. Alvarez. "If he leaves, she stops feeding. That's unsustainable. So let me keep visiting," Mason argued. "It's not hurting anyone." "Not yet," Alvarez replied. "But this isn't a pet, Lieutenant. It's an alien apex species. You don't understand the behavioral implications. They tried to replace him with another guard. It didn't work." The Queen went still again. Refused food. The hum that normally pulsed through the observation dome dropped into silence. After 2 days, the facility's energy readings began to spike. "She's destabilizing the field," Lynn said, horrified. Her bioelectric output is rising. "She's trying to break out." They had no choice but to call Mason back. When he entered the room, the lights flickered again and the readings dropped instantly. She looked at him, and the sound she made was almost relieved. From that day forward, Mason wasn't just a guard. He was part of her care protocol. He ate with her twice a day. Sometimes he read reports aloud. Sometimes he just talked, pretending she could answer. And always, she listened. One day, he asked quietly, "Do you remember where you came from?" She tilted her head. "Did you have others? Like you?" Her antennae twitched once, and in his mind came a flash, an image of thousands like her, winged and luminous, swirling beneath a blue-white sky. Then a wave of cold and silence. He flinched. The vision faded. "I'm sorry," he whispered. Her gaze softened, and she pressed her hand against the glass again. He pressed his palm to the same spot. For a moment, the barrier shimmered. Then came the order. Command wanted her moved to Titan Base. Too dangerous, they said, to keep her near a human outpost. Too unpredictable. Mason wasn't told until the morning of the transfer. "She won't take it well," he said. Alvarez gave a grim smile. "She'll adapt." But she didn't. When they tried to sedate her, she resisted. The hum returned, louder this time, shaking the walls. The lights went out. Emergency klaxons screamed. In the chaos, Mason ran to the dome. "Stop!" he shouted. "You're scaring her!" The containment field wavered. He could see her through the darkness, wings flared wide, eyes glowing with phosphorescent rage. "Mason!" Dr. Lin yelled. "Get back!" The field. Too late. The dome cracked open like glass. She stepped through. For a heartbeat, the entire base froze. Mason stood face to face with her for the first time. Nothing between them. She was enormous, towering over him, her carapace alive with iridescent light. He should have been terrified. Instead, he felt calm. "You shouldn't be here," he said softly. Her voice entered his mind. Not words, but emotion. "You fed me. You live," he swallowed. "They'll hurt you if you don't stop," she tilted her head. "Then you feed them too." He almost laughed, a sound half hysterical. "That's not how it works." She reached toward him. One clawed finger brushed his chest, gentle as breath. The air hummed. Around them, the scientists shouted. Security raised their weapons. She turned her head toward the noise, her glow brightening. "Wait!" Mason yelled. "Please!" She froze again, eyes on him. He took a shaky breath. "If you go with them, if you go quietly, I'll eat with you again. Every day. Wherever they take you, silence." Then a slow, low hum filled the air, a note that made the walls tremble, but not in anger. In agreement. She stepped back, wings folding. The guards lowered their weapons, confused. The crisis passed. They moved her to Titan Base that week. Mason was reassigned as part of her security detail. Officially, his job was behavioral liaison. Unofficially, he was her lunch partner. Each day at precisely noon, they sat, man and monarch, divided by glass and electricity, united by a ritual as old as friendship. Sometimes she sent him images while they ate. Vast frozen plains, tunnels of crystal, stars reflected in endless ice. Sometimes she sent him memories of her people, her hive, the way they shared sustenance not out of hunger, but communion. He began to understand. When he had offered her that first piece of food, he hadn't given her nourishment. He'd given her connection, and in her culture, that was sacred. Months passed. One morning, The scientists found Mason asleep in his chair, half a ration bar still in his hand. The Queen stood watch on the other side of the glass, her gaze fixed on him. When he stirred, she hummed softly, a vibration that pulsed like a heartbeat. He smiled groggily. "Morning. Guess I overslept." She reached out. Pressing her hand to the glass, he pressed his palm to hers. "I'm here," he whispered. And somewhere, deep beneath the surface of Titan, the hum spread through conduits, ice tunnels, and buried chambers where old things slept. The Queen's wings shimmered once, as though calling to something far away. But she didn't move. She stayed, because now she wouldn't eat, wouldn't live without him. Years later, when the colony ships finally came, they found the containment dome empty. No sign of struggle, no sign of violence, just